Now the Spirit of the Lord is the one that speaks through me. Before my mother's womb, he ordained and knew me, ransomed me, and placed his words upon my tongue. Few are chosen, rest assured that I am one, an ambassador for Christ, his beloved son. And by his word, let souls be one. So welcome everyone to this listening party. Sit back and let your souls be hearty. Celebrate with me the gift that God has imparted. And what better way to get this party started than to give him the stage, because he knows where your heart is. Holy Spirit, you are welcome in this place. Give me the boldness to look upon each face and speak every word that you've given me to say. With no fear I speak truth, I won't deviate, and I'm confident that all will go great. So let your presence saturate this place. I breathe in your spirit, I intake a river full of life, water in every dry place. As I flow to the notes that heaven navigates, let it bless every listener and free them today. Let the truth of your word draw souls to be saved. Let the comforter comfort hearts today, and let the light of your word show them the way. Every time I write, I tell his story as I bask in the truth of his word before me. He opens up to me and shows me his glory. He gives me the strength to keep on soaring, and when I open up my mouth, for him I'm roaring. And the Spirit of the Lord goes before me, to the captive set free, that's reassuring. Over the years he strengthened my inner core, and every day I wake up just seeking him more. Am I ready for this? In my spirit I'm sure I am in Christ, and my Father I adore. He redeemed me from destruction, I am his ambassador. As the world turns and open up the door, I step in with purpose to win souls for the Lord. Every time I write, I tell a story as I bask in the truth of his word before me. Every time I write, I tell a story as I bask in the truth of his word before me. Every time I write, I tell a story as I bask in the truth of his word before me. Every time I write, I tell a story as I bask in the truth of his word before me. Every time I write, I tell the story as I bask in the truth of his word before me.
Hey, welcome to Tom the Bomb Sports Talk, the fastest growing show in the world. It's Monday, June 2nd, June already, and this is still the day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. If you don't think it's a great day, just try missing one. And we, LOVE, love sports and the Word of God on the Tom the Bomb Show. And yes, we are live on Facebook. Our contact number here is 301-655-9992. And you can reach us. Also, you can get all the replays immediately after the live show on YouTube at Tom the Bomb Sports Talk. You can also contact us by email at info@tomthebombsports.com. And of course, you can always visit our website at www.tomthebombsports.com. Hey, gang, I'd like to personally thank you guys for your prayers, your support. We hear you loud and clear. And for everyone that has reached out wanting to contribute to the show and our ministry, we sincerely thank you. With that, we appreciate your patronage, and you can bless us to keep creating content and spreading the word of God. Our business cash app is hashtag $Tom the Bomb Sports Talk. We sincerely thank you, and may God bless you 100-fold return on the seed you sow into our ministry at the Tom the Bomb Show. As usual, we want to start off by thanking God for all the wonderful things he's already done for us in 2025. Of course, our theme for 2025 is living in the grace realm. And our foundational scripture for 2025 is found in 2 Corinthians 9:8, the Passion Translation, and it says, yes, God is more than ready to overwhelm you with every form of grace, so that you will have more than enough of everything, every moment, and in every way. He will make you overflow with abundance in every good thing you do. Hey, gang, we don't have trivia today, but we do have a poll question today. Our poll question, Major League Baseball has released their all-quarter century team, and for once, I can't really argue with it. I'd like to know what you guys think and what changes you would make, if any. Okay, so real quick, let me just go over who's on it. Okay, at catcher they have Yadi Molina. First base they have Albert Pujols. Second base Jose Altuve, At shortstop, they've got Derek Jeter. Third base is Adrian Beltre. I can go with that. I'm okay with that. Right field, Aaron Judge. Center field, Mike Trout. Left field, Barry Bonds. DHing is David Ortiz, Big Poppy. And then let's get to the pitching, the starting rotation. We've got Justin Verlander, Clayton Kershaw, Roy Halladay, Max Scherzer, and Randy Johnson. They're all Hall of Famers. I, I, I ain't gonna argue with that. So I think this is an impressive team. Like I said, I can't really argue with any. I thought Adrian Beltre at third base, but man, when you look at with Beltre's numbers, well, he's a Hall of Famer. I mean, there, the only person that isn't a Hall of Famer are the guys who are still playing, who haven't been out, hasn't reached the 5 years, like Yachty and Jose Altuve is still playing. Mike Trout is still playing. Aaron Judge is still playing. But those guys are first ballot Hall of Famers, and all the other guys, they are Hall of Famers. So how do you really argue with it? So so we just want to know what you guys think. Shoot us an email. Or respond on Facebook and let us know what you think. Who do you like this lineup? Who would you change? Who would you take out? Tom the Bomb being a seam head, I got no issues with this. The pitching, I've got no issues with it at all. So that's our poll question for today. Hey, gang, let's get right to the fun stuff. Let's get to the NBA. It's fantastic. Hey, Indiana closes out the Knicks 125-108 to move on to the 2025 NBA Finals to take on the OKC Thunder. Well, gang, just like Tom the Bomb told you guys that the Knicks would come back and win Game 5 at Madison Square Garden, and the Pacers would take them out in Game 6 in Indiana. Just like I told you. Why? Because we like you, Mouse. Because I have eyes, okay? That's why. Now, while rooting for the Knicks, it had nothing to do with what my eyes clearly told me. The better team won this series. I say it over and over and over. Basketball is a team game. It's a team sport. The best team wins, not necessarily the best players. It's why I love. It's why I love the game, because it's really the true essence of all sports. It's teamwork. Teamwork makes the dream work. If you want to go fast, go by yourself. If you want to go far, go with others. Indiana's magical run continues, led by the right mix of youth, experience, pace, and purpose that was good enough to send the Knicks packing and off to the golf course. Okay, I love Coach Rick Carlisle's approach. After the Pacers pulled off that improbable, exhilarating overtime Game 1 victory over the Knicks, which of course, we all knew that game was going to cost the Knicks big time. We knew that. When it happened, we knew it. Game 1, we knew it. That's going to cost them. Absolutely it did. But after the Game 1 win, Coach Carlisle said, this is just day 1 of 13 days. And when the Pacers won 48 hours later to go up 2-0 in the series, it was simply day 3 in Rick Carlisle's world. The Knicks go out. The Knicks got out coached in this series. No doubt, absolutely no doubt. It almost seemed like that Coach Carlisle was like he was providing a framework for his players and the world, with that, for them not to get ahead of themselves. It seemed like he just laid a calming blanket over the Pacers that covered them when they dropped Game 3 at home, and then they played their worst game in Game 5, blowing a great chance to close out the Knicks sooner. In actuality, Coach Carlisle was actually wrong. It actually only took him 11 days to get past the Knicks and into the NBA Finals, which will start on Thursday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern on ABC at OKC's Paycom Center. But let's look at Tom the Bomb's 5 keys from the series. Okay, I'm going to break this down for you guys. All right, number 1, the Pacers had every ingredient on display. The best team won. The Pacers had 7 guys in double figures, and all 7 of them hit at least 2 3-point shots. Even with the Knicks' turned up playoff rugged defense, The Pacers shot an exemplary 54%, 46 for 85 overall, and 52% on three-pointers, 17 for 33. And they shot 84% from the line, 16 of 19 from the free throw line, and they played fast, running to a 23-6 edge in fast break points through three quarters. Remember, I told you guys to pay attention to which team is getting the easier baskets. It's a really good clue as to who's going to win the game and the series. And with the Pacers literally outrunning the Knicks along with their full court pesky defense, which forced 18 Knick turnovers, which led to 34 points for the Pacers. The game was won and lost right there, right there. Indiana's egalitarian roster spreads praise and credit all around like butter. And like Dr. Lawrence says, is on par with their upcoming rival, OKC Thunder. Both teams' foundation display the power of friendship. Not the flashiest, the sexiest, but they put on their hard hats and they get the job done. Number two, Pascal Siakam wins the Larry Bird Trophy. The vote was really close, 5-4 from the media panel that determines who the MVP of the Eastern Conference Championships is going to be. As Siakam edged out teammate Tyrese Halliburton after scoring 31 points with 5 rebounds, 3 assists, a steal, and 3 blocks in Game 5. Halliburton, who looked surprised. Did anybody else catch that with me, that Halliburton looked like, what? I'm not the MVP. Did anybody else catch that? Was it just me? He was kind of surprised that he didn't win it, but he scored 21 points. He had 13 assists, 3 steals, and 1 block shot in Game 5. Now, but don't get it twisted. He's still the head of the Indiana proverbial snake, and a good, reliable barometer if Indiana wins or loses based on his performance. Now, both games that the Pacers lost, he went AWOL, missing in action, okay? But Siakam provided the much-needed offense when the Pacers needed it the most. At halftime, Game 5, the score was 58-54. And in the critical third quarter, when Indiana outscored the Knicks 34-23, Siakam had 10 points in the third quarter, while Halliburton went 1 for 3. Siakam led the Pacers for the series, averaging 25 points per game. He shot 53% overall. He shot 50% from the three-point line, and his versatility, his ability to run the floor, play in the paint, and get to the rack makes him a very, very tough cover. It'll be interesting to see how OKC, a better team defensively than the Knicks, handle Siakam. The Pacers acquired Siakam 16 months ago for 3 players and 3 first-round draft picks. Man, they paid a lot, but hey, it's paid off. It's paid off handsomely, taking them to back-to-back conference finals, and now just 4 victories away from their first Larry O'Brien trophy ever. Point number 3, okay? No one in New York is happy with this finish, okay? It sucks, okay? But hey, let's be realistic. No one had the Knicks getting past the Boston Celtics. No one, not even Tom the Bomb. Yeah, it sucks to lose, but the Knicks were beat up. They were undermanned, they were outgunned, they were outrun, and after 18 games of postseason drama, they finally spit the bid on Saturday night. Game 1 cost them big time. We can't. Oh, you say, well, there's a saying in golf. You can't win the tournament on day 1, but you can lose it on day 1. And that's kind of really what the Knicks did. That series should have been 3-3. If they, being up 15 points with a few minutes left in Game 1, they supposed to win Game 1. If they win Game 1, it's 3-3, and then you're playing a Game 7 back at Madison Square Garden, and we all know that anything can happen in a Game 7. Okay, they finally just ran out of gas. In the second half on Saturday, they got outscored 67-54. They never leading in the second half, never really getting close to Indiana. The 18 turnovers, they were outscored by 24 points on 3-pointers and giving up 34 easy points by throwing the ball away or blowing possessions with stupid fouls. Nimhard's defense on Jalen Brunson was epic, okay? And the Knicks' hero ball, their hero ball between Brunson and Towns, it just got old and very predictable. If you watch the game, I kept seeing Indiana move the ball around the floor, finding the open shot, while Brunson and Towns repeatedly played one-on-one, backing their defenders down, leading to 5 turnovers by Brunson with only 7 assists. Okay. Point guard, you got to do more than that. I mean, Tyrese Halliburton had 13 assists. Hey, but check this out. The Knicks had 51 wins on an injury-riddled season, the most they've had in over 12 years. So this is a great improvement. Look, they beat a Detroit team that I thought really was better. And then they sent the defending NBA champion Boston Celtics home like a scalded dog, okay? The Knicks should be applauded for their efforts. I would have liked to seen them use their bench a lot earlier in the playoffs against Detroit and Boston, because those series really wore down both Jalen Brunson and the Big Cat Towns. I don't understand why Shamont wasn't used more, because the Knicks really needed better three-point shooting in this series, and a lot of people have complained about Tom Thibodeau's heavy minutes he loaded on the starters. But it would be a huge mistake and a gigantic step backwards to fire Coach Thibodeau. That's just not a smart move. And for people who are piling on and complaining, look, I just told you they won 51 games. That's more games than they've won in over 12 years. No, come on. Get real. Nobody was picking the Knicks past the Celtics. Once they got past the Celtics, it was like everything else was like gravy. That's like bonus, okay? All right, point number 4. Coach Rick Carlisle's golden touch. The use of backup center Thomas Bryant, 11 points in 13 minutes, hitting 3 of 4 3-pointers and grabbing 3 rebounds and a block shot in the game. Man, that was brilliant. His use of TJ McCollum and the rest of his roster was masterful, as he clearly outcoached the Knicks at every turn. Every move Carlisle made was the Midas touch. When the playoffs start, coaching matters the most, because now it's game-to-game adjustments, and the better team made the better adjustments. The full court pressure he used in Game 6, that was masterful. It frustrated and wore down Jalen Brunson. It wore him down, and they physically beat the crap out of the Knicks. Okay, it was like watching the Jordan rules from the 80s and 90s that the bad boy Detroit Pistons used against Michael Jordan. I have to say that I thought the officiating was terrible in this series. I love the fact that they let him play, but I think it went overboard, and the Pacers fouled Brunson and Towns multiple times on single possession. I mean, I saw them foul Jalen Brunson like 3 or 4 times on one play, and the ref never called a foul at all. They never got the call, and I'm all for letting the guys play, but you can't let them just beat and slap on him. And I thought the officiating was not good. I really did. Point number 5. Looking forward to OKC and the Indiana Pacers. OKC plays the league's most physical and smothering defense, and with the refs not calling every foul, that can stymie opponents competitively and mentally. Indiana just demonstrated how potent it can be when it plays fast. When it plays fast and attacks both the inside and out and pushes it, its point total over 110 points. They're 11-0 in the playoffs when they score 110 points or more, and they were 52-23 in the regular season when they scored 110 points or more. Indiana can run and gun with anyone. Okay, they can run. I told you that they remind me of the old Showtime Lakers. They do. So it's going to be offense versus defense in the finals. That's going to lack a major, and even with that, it's going to lack a major TV market too for the people, the NBA, that will be focused on ratings. Okay, me personally, I'm happy, because to me, the 2 teams that are playing the best are in the finals. I don't care if it's in Oklahoma and Indiana in the Midwest. The Nielsen ratings may not love it, but Tom the Bomb does. Question. So, can the Pacers compete with OKC? Absolutely. Absolutely. The Pacers were injured early in the season and they got healthier as the season went on. They got healthier, they got better. And next to OKC, the Cavaliers was the second best looking team in the NBA, and the Pacers undressed them and made them look like scrubs. And we know that they aren't scrubs. So yes, Indiana can definitely play with the Thunder, and I look forward to a great series. But I've had the Thunder all year long. Check this out. This is a stat that I love. There are 8 different categories for defensive statistics, and OKC is number one in all 8 of them. That speaks volumes of what we've been talking about on the show for the duration of the playoffs. Defense, 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 defense. Come on, guys and gals. What wins championships? Lori, what wins championships?
Defense.
Defense wins championship. Look at that hot router. The bathroom code is 9914. There's a reason they don't call them clean bikes, right? Okay. we saw the Eagles defense hand Mother Wiggs Kansas City Chiefs a beat down in the Super Bowl. We witnessed it every year in Major League Baseball as the dominant pitching dominates the dominant hitting. What happened to Aaron Judge last year in the 2024 playoffs and World Series? And even now in the NHL playoffs or Stanley, it's still going to be a hot goalie that will determine who's going to hail Lord Stanley's Cup. So the OKC wins 68. The OKC has 68 wins versus the Pacers 50 wins. It's not really that much of a mismatch, like 60 versus 50. It's not that much of a mismatch because that it might look on paper. Okay, the Thunder has made it to the finals losing just 4 games. The Pacers have made it to the finals just losing 4 games. OKC is a 68 win team. The Cleveland Cavaliers was a 64 win team, and they're now at home watching the Pacers. Ask Cleveland if Indiana is for real, okay? Let's get ready to rumble! It's on like popcorn and Donkey Kong. I think I just lost the sound. I feel like I think something here. Okay, there we go. Okay, there we go. Alrighty, I'm good. I'm good now. I'm good. Okay. All right, let's move on to our next topic. Scottie Scheffler wins the 2025 Memorial Tournament. My favorite baseball player of all time is Albert Pujols. And Albert Pujols' nickname was the Machine, okay? Scottie Scheffler is flexing his muscles or superpowers again and is looking more and more like the Machine, okay? What makes a great free throw shooter or what makes a great bowler is that they're able to repeat their stroke over and over and over. Better than most, like a machine. Well, it's no different in golf, but what really makes you worthy of being the Machine is being able to make that free throw at the end of the game when you're down by 1 with 1 second left and you need both free throws to win the game, or you need a turkey to complete a perfect 300 game while bowling. You can do it when can you do it when the pressure is at its highest is what I'm saying. That's what garners you the name the Machine. And Scottie Scheffler is stepping up to that plate. Jack Nicklaus said that the majors were the easiest tournaments to win because the other guys didn't handle the pressure well enough. So he didn't have to worry about them, especially if they had never won a major before. So he would always say, it doesn't matter not how many are in front of me, but who's in front of him. If it was somebody who hadn't won a major before, he didn't even worry about them. So it's like in Top Gun. You had Iceman, okay? He just waited for you to make a mistake. And that's what Scottie's golf game is all about. He's the best iron player on tour since Tiger Woods. So his competitors are being forced to do things they can't do. In tennis, they call it forced errors, okay? But it's really just a mind game because think about this. In golf, no one is playing any defense on you. You're not really playing the other players. You're playing the course. And Scottie understands this and does it better than anyone else on tour. Like a machine. Some of my golfing buddies, they don't like Scottie Scheffler because they don't like the fact that people are comparing him to Tiger Woods, and they seem to get upset because people are implying that Scottie Scheffler is as good as Tiger Woods. There's not enough longevity to jump to even make that kind of comparison. But he is playing like Tiger was playing when Tiger was in Tiger's prime, and he was doing it. That's the way he's playing. Just like at the PGA Championship a few weeks ago, earlier, he shot a bogey-free round of 68 on Saturday to take a one-shot lead over Ben Griffin into Sunday. The third round on Saturday was a demonstration of what was basically to come on Sunday. It's a display of patience and control. He started Sunday with 13 straight pars on a difficult Muirfield Village track that beat up some of the game's best golfers. At one point, Griffin had a 6-shot lead over Scheffler, but patience, patience, patience is the exacting style of golf that Scottie plays. Can you turn that off for me now? Turn that off. Thank you. It's what Scottie plays that, and that has seen him lord over pro golf for more than 3 years now. He's just not going to beat himself. Okay. You have to beat him because he won't beat himself. His elite consistency, excuse me, his elite consistency, his tempo, and his club face control almost make him unbeatable as he methodically attacks the golf course the way Jack Nicklaus used to do. Every tournament that he's in is his to lose. It's like when Tiger was in his heyday, people would say, I'll take Tiger versus the field, meaning give me Tiger and you can have all the rest of the golfers. Well, now it's take Scottie versus the field. Scheffler takes home the first place check of $4 million. That's a cool $1 million per day. Now, Ben Griffin finished second, and he'll just have to console himself with finishing second with a check for $2.2 million. Ben Griffin says he's taking the week off. Oh, well, go on with your bad self. If I won $2.2 million this week, I wouldn't be on the Tom the Bomb show next week. I'm sorry, I wouldn't. Me and Dr. Lauren be somewhere, Portugal or somewhere. We'd be somewhere, trust me. Go on with your bad self. Get your kids out playing golf. Get your kids out playing golf. Let's move on to our next one. Let's talk some baseball. It's getting close to the midseason. We're starting to find out what these teams are. Hey, gang, we had a World Series preview this week as the New York Yankees visit the LA Dodgers to take on Dodgers. Mac Muncy powered the Dodgers past the Bronx Bombers 18-2 with 3 dingers and driving in 7 runs. The Dodgers pounded out a season-high 21 hits as they scored the most runs ever against the Yankees, whose only runs came on Aaron Judge's 20th and 21st homers. Judge had 2 dingers. The Dodgers batted around in the first 2 innings, rocking the Yankees starters Will Warren. Muncy's 400-foot blast in the second inning was his 200th career home run. The Dodgers have outscored the Yankees 26-7 in the first 2 games of this World Series rematch. It was the first time that 6 MVPs would face off against each other in the same game. The Dodgers had Mookie Betts, Shohei Ohtani, and Freddie Freeman, all MVPs in the lineup, while the Yankees countered with Aaron Judge, Paul Goldschmidt, and Cody Bellinger, all MVPs with the Dodgers. With the Dodgers' talented roster, they're strong favorites to repeat as world champions, even though the Yankees did come back and win the third game 7-3. Yeah, they came back and won the last one 7-3. The Yankees are still, they're perennial contenders. And like I said, they have a strong lineup, but it'll have to be their pitching that gets them past the Detroit Tigers, who look to be the Yankees' biggest threat in the American League. So, let's take a quick run at the divisional winners and possible wild card teams for 2025. Let's just get a quick overview. We haven't talked a whole lot of baseball this year on Tom the Bomb, and you guys know how much I love baseball. So, while the Phillies if they can get consistent pitching, they might make it somewhat interesting for the Dodgers. You can't play these games on paper, but I'm already on record saying they should just give the trophy to the Dodgers and move on to the 2026 season in Major League Baseball. Look, don't and American League, don't overlook the Red Sox in the AL East. In the AL Central, I like the Detroit Tigers. Tariq Skubal is arguably the best pitcher in the game right now for the Tigers. And every time he takes the mound, it looks like he's going to throw a no-hitter. He is just dominant right now. In the AL West, if the Rangers, who just beat up on my St. Louis Cardinals, can get consistent hitting, the pitching is there for them, but they aren't hitting, although they hit against the Cardinals this past week. I like the Rangers could win the West. And for the AL wild cards, look to the Yankees and the Astros to be battling. I think battling for the wild card. If the Yankees don't win the East, and if that's the case, maybe the Astros and the Red Sox looking at the wild card. In the National League, of course, you guys know the Dodgers. Okay, let's just take the Dodgers out for now. In the National League East, everyone had the Braves coming back, but the Mets look really, really good. And Ronald Acuna Jr. returning could make the difference for the Braves. In his first at bat back from being off over a year, he hits a 400-foot dinger in his first at bat back. In the National League Central, out of nowhere, it's the Chicago Cubbies. The Cubbies are playing as good as the Dodgers right now. It's a long season, so we'll see if the Cubs can hold off my St. Louis Cardinals. Of course, the National League West, like I said, belongs to the Dodgers, but for the wild card is where the fun will be. I like the San Francisco Giants are surprising this year. Of course, the Phillies will be there, and don't count out the Diamondbacks and the San Diego Padres. All righty, let's move on and let's start with, hey, look, this week we're on the cusp of the NBA Finals and the NHL Finals, the Stanley Cup Finals, matchup with the Panthers versus the Oilers. So here's what I want to do for you guys. Look, I know everybody's not the biggest hockey fan, but we do have hockey people out there. So here's what you need to know. Tommy Bomb's going to tell you what you need to know about the upcoming Stanley Cup Finals starting on June 4th. This is an easy to digest refresher, what you really need to know so you can at least sound intelligent at the water cooler if somebody starts to talk hockey. So first of all, who's playing? The Edmonton Oilers. They aren't just playing, they are back in the finals for the second year in a row. Not only that, they're playing against the same Florida Panthers who beat them in last year's championship. It's the best of 7 series between the last 2 teams standing in the National Hockey League playoff. Playoffs? Yep. The Oilers are representing the Western Conference and the Florida Panthers, the Eastern Conference, which might as well be over hockey's holy grail for Lord Stanley's Cup. It was named after the 16th Earl of Derby, who commissioned the original trophy in 1892. Tom the Bomb going deep, right? Yeah, there you go. Last year, the Oilers fell behind 3-0 in the series and they were on the brink of suffering the embarrassment of getting swept by a team in Florida, okay? But they pulled up their socks and came back to force a game 7, only to wind up on the wrong side of a 2-1 score. And now they're back to try to earn some redemption. Now, who are the Oilers? Well, all you really need to know is that they're really, really good. They're really, really good this time around. They're led by Connor McDavid, who is basically the second coming of the great one, Wayne Gretzky. And if you don't know who Wayne Gretzky is, God help you. I can't, okay? You should also know that Connor McDavid is referred to as the best player in the world. No one has scored more points since McDavid arrived in the NHL in 2015. What's peculiar, though, is he wasn't even the best player on his own team that season. That distinction belongs to, help me out here, Felix, that distinction belongs to his right-hand man and part-time left winger, Leon Draisaitl. Let me be like this. Leon is like what Scottie Pippen was to Michael Jordan, okay? Who led the league. Leon led the league with 52 goals in 71 games and played to capture something called the Maurice Rocket Richard Trophy, okay? That's a big deal, okay? He also had 54 assists to finish third overall in league scoring with 106 points. And he did that while missing 11 games due to injury. Now, Connor McDavid missed even more games with injuries, and he scored 100 points, 26 goals, and 74 assists in just 67 games to finish sixth overall in league scoring that year, basically announcing his presence with authority. You know, Tom likes to say that. Currently, Connor McDavid is the Oilers captain. He leads the NHL with 26 playoff points, while Leon sits in second place with 25 points. That's a potent. That's the Jordan Pippen connection right there. Now here's what you need to know. Okay, this year Edmonton's two big guns, Jordan and Pippen, okay, aren't the only thing driving this team. They are getting uncharacteristic amount of support from secondary scoring from both the defense and from guys who typically play on the top two lines. And the defense has been NBA type defense in the playoffs, okay? As far as goaltending, the Oilers have been displaying what true goaltending tandem looks like. Picard, I love it, Picard was hot with 6 straight wins, but unfortunately, Picard got hurt. But Skinner stepped in, easing the pain of the loss of Picard to keep the Oilers on track and the road to redemption. Skinner's often criticized. All Skinner does is keep winning, keeps taking them back to 2 Stanley Cup Finals. What about the Panthers, Tom the Bomb? Okay. Here's the skinny to cut through the fat. Okay, you like that? Entering the league in 1993, the Panthers are making their 3rd straight appearance in the Stanley Cup Final. You might have heard about a guy named Goalie Bob, who is in the net for them, and obviously another name, Matthew Tkachuk, okay, who seems to irritate Oilers fans everywhere in existence. He's a walking meme in oil country. That's what they call it. Tkachuk is an opportunistic boat rocker who fancies himself as a tough guy who would gladly put a fist in your face just as long as you happen to be a 50 goal scorer and one of his teammates already have him held. He's simply someone that all the fans love to hate. And one of the reasons they hate him is he doesn't follow the code of the unwritten hockey rules that players live by. See, if 2 guys are fighting in hockey, this is kind of an unwritten rule. If 2 guys are fighting in hockey, and everybody likes to see the hockey fights. My mom used to watch hockey just so she could see them fight. If 2 guys are fighting, and you know they're on ice anyway. You ever try to fight somebody on ice? But anyway, if 2 guys are fighting, you're not supposed to come into the fight and you know, if it's mano a mano, a 3rd person is not supposed to come into the fight. That's the unwritten rule. And Tkachuk don't care. He'll just come up and steal you. He's definitely the guy with the black hat. He's the Bill Laimbeer of the bad boy Detroit Pistons, okay? The numbers give Edmonton the home ice advantage. Last year, Florida had it and used it to their full advantage in what turned out to be a 1-goal game in Game 7 inside the friendly confines of Airman Bank Arena. This could be a big deal once again, but hey, let's save all that for the expert. Hey gang, look, let's take a commercial break and pay some bills, and we'll be back with 5 good minutes with Felix. I know that's the only reason you guys are watching this, because Felix is coming. He's coming.
On the Morgan's home turf to huddle up about replacing their drafty old windows.
This free estimate is showing how easy it is to tackle the problem.
We can get any of these windows custom made.
Yes, you can get the quality and style you really want.
And at a more affordable price than they ever imagined.
Now that they've sealed the deal, they'll be saving money year-round.
We're really confident with Window Nation.
Get your free estimate today and get 60% off all windows plus no interest or payments for 24 months at getwindownation.com.
Sheltered by the Sea of Cortez, Danzante Bay is a pure and peaceful oasis, an uncrowded retreat where your options are as vast as your views. If you're seeking a vacation that defines luxury and the true relaxation, look no further than Villa del Palma at the islands of Loreto. A splendor of true Mexican hospitality effortlessly blends with rich materials and insatiable comforts to bring guests the ideal home away from home experience. With its quiet beaches, scenic vistas, rich history, and astounding surrounding natural habitat, you'll feel as though you've been swept off to paradise. Not to be outdone, Reese Jones has crafted TPC Danzante Bay, a brilliant, multi-themed 18-hole golf course that runs over and through valleys, arroyos, dunes, and foothills. From every angle, striking images of the islands of Loreto and the surrounding mountain range take your breath away, while the challenging yet rewarding Baja Golf Course beckons you to return for more. It is an honor and my pleasure to welcome you to the world's most beautiful sunset and so much more.
And we're back. Felix, you there?
Yes, I am.
All righty, my man Felix. All righty. Hey, Felix, let's start off with the NBA playoffs. Let's give us your take on the Pacers and Knicks. And then after that, what's your thoughts on the Pacers and OKC in the finals? Why don't you go from there?
Well, I would say Pacers and Knicks, it was a series that had games that were hard fought, some better than others. But the Pacers showed exactly, and I mean exactly, who they are and what they're capable of to finish off the series in that game 6. But also what I wanted to say regarding the Thunder and the Pacers, I don't think that this series is too hard to predict, at least not for me. I have the Thunder winning this one. Now, I do think the Pacers are going to have a few games here and there, and they're not going to necessarily go away quietly. But after seeing what I've seen from the Thunder, I wouldn't be surprised if they were to get in a few blowouts in this final series.
You think so, huh?
Yep.
Do you think it'll at least go 6?
Of course, 4-2. I'm thinking it's 4-2 Thunder at least.
Mm-hmm. Well, I like the Thunder too, but I'm not ready to just count Indiana out, man. Indiana has been slaying people, and like I said, people seem to think that Indiana came out of nowhere, but like I mentioned earlier, Indiana had some injuries during the regular season, and they started to get healthy at the right time, and they only end up winning 50 games, but they didn't have their full lineup. They had some key people out. Halliburton was out for a little while. They had some key people out. And they got healthy at the right time. You know how kind of almost like the NFL. You want to be playing your best football in December. That's kind of what happened with Indiana. And I mean, come on, man. We all year long, Felix, we've been talking about how good the Cleveland Cavaliers looked. And man, they just totally undressed the Cavs, and they beat it. And the Knicks beat a great Celtic team. They beat a great Celtic team, and none of you or I, none of us expected the Knicks to get past the Celtics. Let me ask you this too: what was your take on Siakam getting the MVP over Tyrese Halliburton? What's your thoughts on that?
That's I would say it's a case where we, as basketball fans or people who watch the sport, we generally expect the MVP to go to the person who scores most points, and that's something that I would agree with for the most part, unless it's some sort of outlier. And it's one of those cases. I'm not sure if you remember 2015. Steph Curry was not even the Finals MVP that season for that series. Mm-hmm. It was Andre Iguodala, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes,
so
you are correct.
One of those cases where the MVP of a series might not always be necessarily the best player, might not necessarily be the top scorer, but they take into account maybe, okay, perhaps he played in a more holistic manner. Perhaps you take into account, okay, he was part of certain crucial plays at crucial junctions of the game series that decided it. So that's what I would have to say. Again, it's something that's that'll make you think, but it's not really the first time you see something like this in basketball.
You do know that Siakam was the leading scorer for the Pacers. Are you aware of that?
Hmm.
Yeah, he was. He averaged 25 points a game for the Pacers. He was the leading scorer. And if you look, Halliburton had that one phenomenal game where his stats were just where he had done something that nobody ever done: 30 plus points, 15 assists, 10 rebounds, and 0 turnovers. He had that really outstanding game. But every game, that's why I said he is the proverbial head of the snake for the Pacers, because every game they lost, Halliburton had a bad game. The two games that they lost was his two bad games, and Siakam was the steady guy. Game in and game out, and like I say, with his versatility, let me ask you this, Felix. Did you I don't know if you watched at the end of the game, when they presented him the trophies, did you see that Halliburton was shocked that he didn't get the MVP? Am I the only person that caught that? Did you see that?
To be honest, that's something I didn't really. I did watch the end game ceremony and everything because it was supposed to be the last game NBA game on TNT, but
Hmm.
I didn't actually pick up on his reaction to the MVP announcement. To be
Well,
honest.
well, when Ernie got ready to announce the MVP, Halliburton stepped forward, like, "Okay, give me my trophy." He did. He just because he was kind of in the back, and he moved right up to the front so he could, get the. And then they said Pascal Siakam, and I was like, "Whoa!" There's a little bit of egg on the face there. When I think about it, I was shocked initially. But when I think about it, and when I did my research, when I actually looked at the stats, yeah, it's if you look at the stats and the numbers, they did it by the numbers, and it was a close vote. It was 5-4. So a lot of people
Right.
thought that Halliburton was deserving, but they gave it to Siakam at 5-4. That's close. That's a close. So I was just curious, which are their thoughts on that.
Right.
Uh, okay, what you say, babe?
SGA and Siakam MVP comments in terms of their contributions coming up in the final games,
In the finals,
Right. What do you think in terms of how critical each of the MVPs are to the upcoming finals?
Okay, that's a good question. What did you hear that, Felix?
I did. I just wasn't sure if it was
It's a
so
question to
that
you.
question was for me.
Yeah.
Okay. So I would say that in terms of the finals, now of course the best player on the team, they do bear most of the responsibility, but at the same time, I feel that it always goes to the better team as a whole effort. So again, even though Halliburton, Siakam, SGA, so on and so forth, your star players are going to be the ones you look at.
Mhm.
I think that really at the end of the day, the final series is going to go to the team that plays the best basketball. And talking about Halliburton, talking about Siakam,
Mhm.
honestly, I did say that I expect the Thunders to win 4-2, but quite frankly, it could go to 7 very easily, and I wouldn't be shocked if that were to happen.
Comment
So,
on this. Comment on this for me, Felix. Okay, I
yes,
kind of broke this down like offense versus defense.
right.
In the NBA, they have these top 8 statistics on defense, and the OKC Thunder is number one in every defensive category. So they're obviously the defensive juggernaut. But when Indiana scores 110 points or more, they beat everybody. So what's your thoughts, offense versus defense in the championship? What's your thoughts on that?
Well, here's the thing: defense that could prove to be another X factor for the Thunder. But at the same time, I'm also looking at the Pacers. Yes, they can do that against every opponent in the NBA. But here's the thing: how many times do they face Oklahoma City Thunder out of an 82 game schedule? That the Thunder being in the opposite conference, they only face them 2 times a year.
Right.
So you're talking about, okay, you won every time you score at least 110 points, you win every single game, and that's a very impressive stat. I take absolutely nothing away from that.
Hmm.
But at the same time, being brutally honest, I think that if that's the goal, I think the Thunder can beat that
Hmm.
every single time.
Hmm.
Because again, I didn't notice some weaknesses in the Thunder in the game of the Thunder. They were kind of trigger happy with the jump shots earlier this year.
Hmm.
But I'm seeing again more holistic basketball. I'm seeing them not just be able to shoot from the perimeter, them being able to set up plays and just a also durability. There was one player who had a hamstring injury, a severe one of that, and he tore it up against the Nuggets in that game 7. So
Okay. Felix, we're on the cusp of the NHL Stanley Cup matchup between the Panthers and the Oilers. What's your take on this? How'd you like my preview into the match?
good as always. But as for this matchup, I did say last year I said it was the Florida Panthers. It turned out to be Panthers 7.
Mhm.
This year, I'll say this: this is a series I'm not as confident going into this one with my pick as it was last year. But if I have to make a choice, I'm going with the Oilers, and it might be
Mm.
Oilers 7. This might be a 7-game series.
Mm.
Now, here's the thing.
Mhm.
I'm looking at the Oilers type of hockey that they're playing and type of teams they're beating. And, okay, the Dallas Stars, you're talking about a solid team, the team that made a deep run into the playoffs, the team that knocked off some of the best teams in hockey, right? And
Mhm.
the Oilers, they made fairly quick work of them, even in that elimination game. Ettinger who's the goalie for the Stars, he had to be removed from the game. So
Mhm.
I'm looking at the Oilers, and also look at their talent, their offense. Again, people always think Connor McDavid, best player of his generation, and people often forget about the other players on the team. And I'm
Mhm.
not just talking about Leon Draisaitl.
Thank you, because I
Also,
couldn't say that name to save my life. I'm so glad you said
trust
it.
me, trust me.
Leon what?
I
Leon
mean,
what?
Draisaitl.
I felt like I was in kindergarten. Sound it out, Tommy. You.
No, trust me. I go through the same. I went through the same thing first couple seasons of Washington sports. That I think I pronounced the name 5 different ways that one season alone.
Do you like the Jordan Pippen comparison?
Oh yes, I did. Very thought, very. That was perfect actually. And going into it regarding the Oilers and the Panthers, I'm looking at how the Panthers are playing. Yes, they've been dominant in these playoffs, but going back to what I said, the Panthers, yeah, they knocked off the Hurricanes, but it goes back to what I said about the Hurricanes. They weren't necessarily beating up on the New Jersey Devils. They were barely winning those 4 games. You'd expect one decisive win. Capitals, they're barely even putting the forth effort, so they rolled past the Capitals. Then, when they got there, okay, I'm not really too impressed by the Panthers being able to beat up the Hurricanes.
Mhm.
Then also, again, here's what really drives the point home for me. Although they were able to beat the Maple Leafs, right? Tough fought 7-game series. Maple Leafs one of the best teams in hockey. I still can't get over the fact that they were struggling a bit against a Tampa Bay Lightning team that had 10 active players on a roster for a game. And I'm thinking to myself, you talk about load management a lot in basketball,
Mm-hmm.
but hockey is overly dependent upon load management because they take very frequent line shifts. If you're on ice for 2 minutes, that's considered too long. You have to get it. You get on ice, you get off. As soon as the play stops, you're expected to go to the bench and end your shift.
Mhm.
So
That's a great point. I'm sorry for interrupting you. I just happened to be watching Miracle last night, and that big game against the Russians when they beat them, and Coach Brooks says 2 minutes. I want the lines changing every 2 minutes. So that's a good point, Felix.
right, and that's something to take into consideration. I mean, yes, they did win that game, some of those games against the Tampa Bay Lightning, but the fact that, again, going up against 10 players on a roster,
Mhm.
that should be, you're talking about steamrolling someone. Like, I'm saying the game shouldn't have even been close. If there was ever a game you're supposed to score 7 goals on your opponent,
Mhm.
7-1, and that does happen in hockey,
Mhm.
that's when you do it because they came out with half a team.
Mm.
That's equivalent. That's equivalent to playing a man down in football almost, or 2
Oh
men
wow.
down in football
Wow.
in several plays. Like
Wow.
I dare say it has that sort of impact. So the fact that the Florida Panthers still had issues with that tells me, okay, I'm not exactly sure he can play prime form Oilers. And my final point, I'm looking at last year's playoff series. Really, the Panthers, they won. They had a 3-0 lead in that
Right.
playoff series. A lot of people
Right.
forget that. The
Yeah.
Oilers snapped back with 3 of their own.
Right.
Then the
Correct.
Panthers won that final one. So here's
Mhm.
the thing. What if the Oilers actually started playing in those first three. Just one of those first 3 games.
Hey, what if the Knicks had won game one? That's basically what you're saying.
Bingo.
What if the Knicks had won game one? Let me ask you this. Last year, home ice advantage was crucial for game seven. The Oilers have home ice advantage this year. How big do you think that'll be?
Um, I would say it should be a factor. Now, their time, I think that home ice advantage, this might be a controversial opinion. I don't think it works the same way in hockey as it does in other sports because
Okay.
I see road teams win more often. I dare say in hockey, I see road teams win more often than other sports. Not saying it's by a noticeable margin, but I would also point out the fact that again, this Oilers team, I don't see them losing like like this 2 seasons in a row. They're coming in motivated. Connor McDavid has been in the league for about 10 years playing solid hockey, and he hasn't really had the opportunity to get this far. Now he's done it 2 years in a row. Had a heartbreaker last year. I don't see the Oilers going down 2 years in a row. Again, from a intangibles perspective, but
Mhm.
again, when it comes down to the X's and O's, I think that their biggest problem now again, Florida did add to. They're always adding to their talent. I didn't mention their acquisitions, not to mention their goalie Bobrovsky, but again, I'm taking everything into consideration what we're seeing in this year's playoffs. That's really, if you're analyzing hockey, that's really what you got to go off of. I have to go with the Oilers for that reason as well.
Okay. Hey, let's talk a little baseball real quick. Um, um, the World Series rematch, Dodgers Yankees. Also, our poll question: what did you think of? I looked at that team, and I have no problems with that all quarter century team. Did you get a chance to catch the list of that?
I did. I think that was usually they mess up these all-time lists
Hmm.
in one way or another, and that's one that I don't really have any sort of objection to.
Yeah, I was shocking because I'm usually pretty critical about stuff like that, and I looked at it. I was like, I can't really argue. I can't really argue. Like I said, the only question was Beltre, but Beltre's a Hall of Famer, so how can you really
Right.
argue with that? So
I remember
I
that.
thought it was a good job.
I remember that one time you critiqued the Madden ratings by counting off just the top 20 odd players
Hmm.
one time.
Hmm.
I was so happy that you did that because this is going off topic. I know Madden is just a video game, but
Hmm.
EA Sports, they're considered to be top of line simulation,
Hmm.
but they mess up ratings big time
Yeah.
sometimes. I'm just going to use two examples. Ethan Albright was the lowest rated player in Madden '08. He was with Washington that year. He ended up being a Pro Bowler that year.
Hmm.
The Celtics, they're the team that won the NBA Finals in '08, but they were the lowest ranked team in NBA Live '08. So those are two examples for you right there. So,
Okay, now we're not going to really talk about the Dodgers because Tom the Bomb already has given the World Series trophy to the Dodgers. But
right.
who do you like in the division so far? What you've seen and possible wild card team, American League, National League. Who have you seen? Who do you like?
Hmm. So, wow, way too early to tell, but based on what I've seen, definitely out of the American League East, though this one's going to be too easy. Yankees, then of course for the AL Central or AL West. I'll start off AL West. I think AL West. That one would be hard to call too. I'd say the East, the NL East. That one's I'd say right now my favorite to win would be the Phillies,
Uh,
assuming, well, no,
mhm,
actually the Braves, believe it or not. I think
mhm.
the Braves are going to make a comeback.
Yeah.
They were on a hot streak before Acuna came back. Now
Mhm.
they have Acuna. I think they just go up from here. And I think in general, they're a better team than the Braves. So I think that's just going to sort itself out. So,
I thought the Phillies had better pitching though. It'll be interesting. I like both of those teams. What about this? What about my National League Central? I mean, I can't. I'm shocked by what the Chicago Cubs are doing. I'm totally blown away. They basically got the same record as the Dodgers. I don't know. I follow baseball and I don't know what's going on, man.
I think it's again. I think that's a case of that team is just doing well in the moment.
Okay.
I think this is similar to what we saw a few years ago with the Tampa Bay Rays. We're thinking the Rays were the new elite MLB team because they were hot first 30 games of the season. Like when you're talking 30 games, you're talking a whole month, and they were still at the top of the league. They weren't slowing down. Then, of course, like you say, it's a 162 game season,
Mhm.
so that month, you can't really tell much about the league until really July.
After All-Star break, yeah.
That's what's crazy. Yeah.
What about the AL East? And I know I know you follow the AL East.
Oh, AL East. I think that one's. I already gave that one to the Yankees.
Okay. What about the Sox? You think the Sox got a shot?
No.
Okay.
Maybe they could get it as a wild card, perhaps.
Okay.
But...
All right. Okay, I like that. Hey, listen, Felix, the NBA on TNT is shutting down after 25 years. I think we always talk about that. We all seem to prefer watching the NBA games on TNT rather than ESPN. And now this team, ESPN, smartly has went on and hired all these guys. So they are going to bring that same team over to ESPN. But I don't know if people know this. They've basically hired everybody at TNT. So TNT is still going to shoot and produce the games, and then they're going to like stream it or shoot it over to ESPN. What's your thoughts on that? And just the 25 years, these guys have won Emmys and everything. What's your thoughts on NBA on TNT with Ernie and Shaq and Kenny and Charles?
I think this is a smart move by ESPN. And for those of you out there who are more familiar with football, think of the NFL on Fox broadcast.
Right, good point.
You're not just talking about guys who are talking about football or basketball, your favorite sport, but they have personality. They're not doing it. Well, it's professional, but at the same time, you can tell they're having fun with it. They're cracking jokes. They're making references to it.
Oh, they're hilarious.
Really, again, but that's why even when the Commanders are playing on CBS, I'll watch the Fox pregame show. Then maybe right before kickoff, I'd say 15 minutes before kickoff, that's when we switch channels, because it's more than just a pregame show with TNT. Again, when you bring personality, not only personality, but you also talk about the fact that these guys are veterans. So there's experience in there and how they relate it to they relate what you see in real time to situations that they've gone through as coaches or players. So it's something you really can't beat. And again, I like what I'm seeing from that. And I just hope that this becomes a more common thing in sports. So we have that for basketball. We have it for football, obviously, with the NFL and Fox. It kind of started that whole style of presentation. So I just really hope the ball continues rolling, because it's really a beautiful thing.
You know, I know people that don't watch the game, but they tune in afterwards to hear Ernie and Shaq and Kenny and Charles. It kind of reminds me, if you remember, if I can take you back, you may be right, when Fox snuck in and stole the NFL. And their first thing they did is they went out and hired John Madden and Summerall.
Exactly.
So I think it's a really shrewd trip. They had to do it. There was no way you could break up that team with all the Emmys. They had to do that. Their arms were twisted on that one. If we can just figure out how they can somehow get rid of Stephen A. Did I say that out loud? Oh gosh, I'm sorry. I repent.
He's got his own platform.
Hey gang, that's our show for today. Don't what you doing, Lord? Don't forget to like and subscribe us on YouTube and hit that like bell for us, please. Look, if you're enjoying the content and you'd like to bless our ministry, you can sow into Tom the Bomb Sports Talk by cash apping us at $ Tom the Bomb Sports Talk. And don't forget to check out our website at www.tomthebombsports.com. You can also email us at info@tomthebombsports.com. Hey, for a dynamic, in-depth sports analysis and highlights for sports in the DMV and more, check out the Washington Sports Den on Thursdays at 2 p.m. Eastern on WBGR with my main man, Mr. Felix Bassey. His future's so bright, you got to wear shade. Man, time flies when you're having fun. We're out of time here, but we sure do thank you for spending your time with us. We don't take that for granted. Listen, may the gates of heaven open and pour out an abundance of blessings down on you that there won't be room enough to contain it as you live off the overflow and step into the realm of grace. Remember, if you want it, you got to confess it with your mouth and believe it in your heart that Jesus died on the cross and that he rose on the third day, not a Thursday, just for you. Hey, gang, look, hey, Tom the Bomb wants to leave you with a thought today. Listen, Duct tape may patch a lot of things, but 3 nails fixed everything. Duct tape patched up a lot of things, but 3 nails fixed everything. Remember, darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. And hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. God bless you guys. We'll see you next week on this same bat time, on this same bat station. Listen, you guys have a great evening. Enjoy the upcoming NHL Stanley Cup and the NBA Finals. Enjoy the games. God bless you guys. Thanks, Felix. You guys have a good evening. God bless you.
Daughter of mine, this is your time, and you gon' shine, and you gon' shine. Daughter of mine, this is your time, and you gon' shine, and you gon' shine.
Well, I'm coming out with a word in my mouth, filled with excitement to say what it's all about. For a long time, I've held this water in, let the floodgates open, let the miracles begin. I've prayed, and I've gone back 7 times, look again, cause the miracles are mine, stir the water. I'm about to step in like the pool of Bethesda, let the healing begin.
Daughter of mine, this is your time, and you gon' shine, and you gon' shine. Daughter of mine, this is your time, and you gon' shine, and you gon' shine.
It took a minute to get my composure right. For years it seems like I've been fighting for my life. Confusing times when my days resemble nights. But now the seagull is about to take flight. I soar out of darkness to his revelation light. Though the waves are rough, I step out my comfort zone to walk on water, cause I know I'm not alone. God's got my back and reminds me I'm his own. His words are sweet in my mouth, they taste like a honeycomb. And faith has opened up my eyes. I've been through the fire, tested and tried. As I study God's word, I finally realize that my purpose I have to visualize, to bring the unseen from the realm of under night until I walk into the fullness of a purpose-filled life, cause I'm light. Yes, I am light, and I shine bright. I am an investment of the Lord Jesus Christ. Not only am I light, I am salt. When I enter in, I add flavor to it all. I bring truth, there's no dispute. Jesus is the vine, and in him I take root. I am the head, and not the tail. I'm an overcomer made free to prevail. A new design, a special kind. Ambassador followed by wonders and signs. I am light, and I give sight, leading lost souls to a glorious light. I am light.
Daughter of mine, this is